Let me ask both of you to stay with us. I want to bring in my colleague, NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel, who has some breaking news for us. Richard Engel.
So the chief spokesman for the Hamas military wing just issued a statement on camera in which the group is offering to release foreign hostages unconditionally. And I think this could significantly change the way things develop here over the next several hours, potentially change the course of this conflict so far. It is a statement from Abu Obaida. It is on the same channels that Hamas releases its normal videos. I've listened to the audio and verified it in Arabic. And he starts out by saying that Hamas is holding 200 hostages, that they were taken when Hamas militants crossed into Israel. They blew up the border fence, and that they are confirming that among those hostages, there are a group of foreigners. He didn't say how many, and he said that they failed to verify their identities during the time of the capture, and that now they've confirmed that they are foreign nationals, that they are not party to the conflict, that they are being treated, quote, as guests, and that Hamas will release them, quote, when field conditions are right. This is, I think, it's coming from Hamas, so it's healthy and appropriate to treat it with a great deal of skepticism. But I know from diplomatic sources I've been talking to all day that there has been a lot of effort to try and convince Hamas to release some hostages. There have been discussions with Arab countries to try and put pressure on Hamas to make some sort of gesture. There had been talk initially that Hamas might release women and children. What Hamas is doing now is making a distinction between Israelis, which it says are party to the conflict, and foreigners, foreign nationals, which it says are, quote, being treated as guests. So I'm quite sure that diplomats around the world, hostage negotiators, are going to be taking this offer very seriously, wanting to know much more about it. It could impact how Israel proceeds with its campaign, because if Hamas is saying it's willing to release American hostages and other foreign nationals unconditionally, there will be pressure on Israel to get those people out. They're certainly frightened. Some of them might be injured or sick. They could have intelligence, likely do have intelligence about other hostages, about their captors. It is something that certainly could benefit not just the hostages, but could change the course of this war, at least in the short term. I don't think it's going to prevent Israel from continuing its campaign about Hamas, but there are many reasons, but for the hostages especially, to try and see if Hamas is legitimate in its offer and get those people out.
Richard Engel, is Abu Obaida a credible person?
Yes, he is the main spokesman for Hamas. He is this video was released on the same channels that the other videos have been released on. He is someone who is taken seriously within Hamas. He is a very senior figure. This is not a fringe character. What was interesting as well about this statement is that he said that there are between 200, 250 or more hostages inside Gaza. So he's acknowledging that Hamas does not know exactly how many hostages are inside Israel. Hostages, not just foreign hostages, 250 or more hostages inside the Gaza Strip. What happened on that day, and I'm not sure if this has been fully explained before, when at 6:30 in the morning on the 7th, when Hamas broke through the border fence in multiple locations, about 30 locations, and streamed into the kibbutzim near the border and went to that music festival and went on their killing and kidnapping spree, other Palestinians also went through those gaps. Some of them started to loot and take what they could. Others grabbed people. Others grabbed hostages themselves for personal reasons and brought them back. So Hamas is saying it has 200, that there are other groups that are holding the other 50 or so, and that of the 200 that it has confirmed, quote, that there are foreign nationals among them and that they are being treated as guests and that they are not party to this conflict and will be released when the field conditions are right, which means when some safe passage can be arranged.
Richard Engel, how's the news being received in Israel?
This is new. It is being broadcast on Israeli television right now. I'm sure I know a lot of work has gone into this because I've been speaking with Arab negotiators all day. They were expecting some sort of news, and they've been talking about having some sort of progress earlier. I do believe that the people who were involved in arranging this probably already had some sort of idea. So I think this is something that we're going to see not play out in public, but with hostage negotiating teams, government to government, State Department to its counterparts. I'm sure they are burning up the phones right now.
Richard Engel, is it your sense that these hostage negotiations and efforts to rescue all of them, and it's such an important piece that we don't know what we don't know. We don't necessarily know that the effort to keep them inside Gaza is a centralized one, is what it sounds like you're explaining for us. Do we know if this is the factor driving the timing of what many expect to be a ground invasion of the Gaza Strip?
It could very well be Hamas's attempt to push back a ground invasion, or it could be an attempt by Hamas to not pick a fight with the United States, to say that its fight is with Israel and with Israel alone, so that it doesn't have Delta forces and Navy SEALs landing in the Gaza Strip and looking for this people. It is also an attempt by Hamas to reestablish its credibility, if you will. Hamas in this statement is going out of its way to saying, we are treating these people well. Well, if it's serious and it's willing to release the hostages, foreign hostages, unconditionally, then the world will know how they were treated. So even though Hamas is a terrorist organization, has tremendous credibility problems, I can imagine there will be lots of pressure to at least pursue this from the families of the hostages, from the governments who are doing everything they can to try and get these people out. If Hamas says it's willing to release them, I'm sure there are many people who will want to explore that at the very least.